I would like to send this prayer up to the wrestling gods because thank you for TNA this week because you have washed the taste that was NXT out of my mouth earlier in the week. And that is from the book of Stone Cold Steve Austin 316. I'm going to go to hell for that one. But before I do, hi, BC WrestlePod nerds out there. And welcome to another rendition of the Takedown Troop Reviews, where us heathens here are going to be reviewing TNA Wrestling this week. Hailing from parts of unknown, whatever you want to call it. But we are here to review TNA Wrestling from Thursday, March 21st, 2024. I am Mikey, also known as El Jefe around these parts. And joining me this week, once again, are my two lovely co-hosts who like TNA as much as I do. And I'm happy that we get to do this as a full panel once again because I love this. And don't tell the other boys, but this is probably my favorite team. And if the other boys are watching, hi guys, I love you too. Just like look away without it. But I am joined by, first and foremost, you can catch him here as well as NXT. Well, you can catch all three of us on NXT. But you could also catch this other co-host doing the Ring of Honor review with the rest of us bros, as we're affectionately called over there. Mr. A to Z himself, Andrew, welcome back. It's round 2 for both of us. I'm excited to have you back.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Yes. And, of course, last but certainly not least, you can find him doing TNA, NXT, and you know what? He's just fantastic all around. Papa Oso himself, Will. Hi.
Hello.
So let's do the housekeeping before we get into everything. I nailed this down, so we're going to get through this as quickly as possible. We have a YouTube channel, if you haven't noticed. If you're watching us on YouTube, hi. If you want to explore more, make sure to check out that link to our YouTube page. And, you know, just roll around there, scrim, whatever you want to call whatever the kids say these days. Check out all the other stuff we have here on the YouTube channel. We do pretty much all the weekly reviews and the pay-per-views. And stay tuned because there is some additional content coming to the YouTubes that are a little bit different for us. A lot of us have been working hard behind the scenes to just do random stuff and see what works. So I'm excited to start putting that out. If you want to hear us be out of pocket half the time and hear and watch out of context clips, you can check us out all over the social medias. We are pretty much out there on everything you can possibly imagine. Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok. The list just goes on. And you might be wondering yourself, El Jefe, Mikey, that's a lot of social medias. Where can I find your one-stop shop for everything? Well, I'm glad you asked, non-binary person of the internet. Don't assume genders here. But you can check out our link in the description of this video and in our bio here on the YouTube page to check us out over on Next Level. We here at BC WrestlePod are proud to be working with the Next Level crew. It is your one-stop shop for all things and everything wrestling, where you can meet like-minded individuals. Come check out our page, where you can find all our social media stuff, as well as if you want to donate to the cause with the Patreon, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo. Just drop us a tip, please. Drop a tippy poo. We love you. And then you might also be wondering, y'all are beautiful to look at, but I can't watch you on a daily basis. Well, fret not, because you can take us with you on the go as we have audio review versions of these weekly TV shows and pay-per-views. So you can take us with you on the go. And of course, last but certainly not least, if you want to say hi to us and you're like, this is cool that I get to watch them on the internet, but when are y'all going to be out in the public? Well, if you happen to be in the New Jersey area around Saturday, May 18th and Sunday, May 19th, you can stop by the New Jersey Wrestling Show, where the BC WrestlePod boys are taking a road trip, and we're going to have a table out there selling merch, having a good time, and probably being fangirls as we are going to be screaming for our favorite wrestlers that are also going to be there. It's going to be crazy. So come say hi to us if you're in the New Jersey area around that time. But with all that out of the way, now let's dive into why we're truly here for the evening to talk about TNA Wrestling. We kick off TNA this week with probably, I'm putting it out there right now, this is my match of the night. Just because of how chaotic everything was, but I love pretty much this was an X Division scramble without it being called an X Division scramble. But this was the Rebellion Referendum match hosted by our newly TNA president, or president of TNA, Mustafa Ali. So essentially, this match is a number one contenders match for the X Division Championship, and whoever wins this Rebellion Referendum match will go on to Rebellion to face Mustafa Ali for the X Division Championship. So this match had a bunch of participants in it. So this was Leon Slater versus Chris Bay versus Alan Angels versus Jason Hodge versus Kevin Knight versus What's My Name, Jake Something. This was a lot of action. It was chaotic. It was fast paced. Everyone was moving all over the place. I'm going to say my two things first, and then I'll let my other co-host talk about it. That that power bomb by Jake Something, just like, yeah. I was like, I swear they got 3 feet of air bouncing off that apron. And then, of course, I love the Into the Void, but Leon Slater probably had my favorite move too, where he jumped over Jake Something into everybody else over the ring post. Like, that was some height. And this is just a joke, but I was like, I had to do a double take because the ring gear for Kevin Knight and Leon Slater were kind of similar. I'm like, wait, who's who? Okay, there we go. There you are. They were moving so fast, I got lost. I'm like, where'd they go? Ah! But this was my match of the night because I'm here for chaos. But boys, what a way to open this. Obviously, Jake Something picked up the win, and we could talk about all the nuances because Ali was out there making me laugh as well. But we get our third confirmed match for Rebellion. But what did we think of the Referendum match opening up TNA this week?
I thought this was a really good way to introduce a new contender for Ali's title because, you know, we're just fresh off of his feud with Sabin. So I thought this was a good way to set this up. Ali's work on commentary was a smart choice too because it helped solidify that. And obviously his concern about Jake Something being his contender. I love the nuance of him referring to everyone as Mr. whatever their last name is. And it was an awesome match to open the night. It was smart. This was a great choice for them to do. I want to see all of these competitors face each other because it was just, like you said, nonstop action. It was super entertaining. I do hope that Jake, especially if we're losing Ali, if his contract with TNA is coming to an end, is the one that dethrones Ali. And if he is, or if Ali stays, I want to see all of these people face either one of these two because it was just so much action, so good. Even Jason Hodge, who spent a lot of the match getting beat up, did some really great work. So yeah, this was an awesome way to start the night, and definitely my match of the night too.
Yep, mine too. My match of the night because, you know, Jake Something. That's all it needed. It was great. I was like, oh, this is neat. This is neat. And there's the cherry on top. And yeah, I agree with everything that Andrew said. All the way down to Ali's commentary, to his face when Jake won. I mean, it's great, and I agree. I really kind of hope that Jake takes this title. I just, you know, if we lose Ali, and if we don't, then he holds on to it. That's great. I think it's going to be a great match. No, either way. And I agree. I think all the people in this whole match, I want to see more of because it was pretty even. Alan Angels was such a goof, and I loved it. I loved every bit of it. So yeah, this was a great way to open the night. I was like, and this one match literally got rid of all the nasty taste in my mouth from NXT. It's like this one match was better than the entire episode of NXT.
I mean, you're not exactly wrong, but I will say what actually made me excited too is this is really like not necessarily the first time, but we got a more in-depth look of the newest signee for TNA that we got a couple months ago in Leon Slater. So I am so excited. And if we want him, I would want to see him and Kevin Knight feud for a little bit too, because there's some prior history there. And I would love for Kevin Knight to have a feud with Leon Slater, because I think it would be fantastic. But again, Jake Something hits the Into the Void for the win. I still find it funny that he has to cover up his big old Dragon Ball Z tattoo on his leg. I was like, I could see Goku's hair peeking out of that cover, which is funny. And I think I said this last week, but I'm going to continue to say it. Shout out to Jake Something and Speedball Mike Bailey for being new tag team champs on the independent scene. That is a tag team that I would love to see happen. It's fantastic. But what a way to open up TNA. This was super fantastic. And we get our third match for Rebellion. Jake Something versus Mustafa Ali for the X Division Championship, which joins the ranks of the previously announced Nick Nemeth Moose for the TNA World Championship match. And you have the System with Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers taking on Speedball Mountain. I am so pumped. I'm already loving what we have so far for Rebellion. And spoiler alert, we get another match confirmed later, which also has. But we go from this chaotic match to a very confusing promo for me, because I felt there was no direction in this grindhouse-esque, like, stylized promo. So we get Dirty Dango and Oleg Prudius and Alpha Bravo, and Dirty Dango kind of rips it into Oleg for losing to Josh Alexander, you know. And Oleg is not taking no crap from Dango, because he like argues back and kind of just like walks away and walks out of it. I was like, this is the end of this faction. And in my mind, I'm like, please, yes. I've said this before and I'll continue to say it again. Dirty Dango has slowly, grown on me, but we need to start taking him in some other directions. Or at least, like, if you're going to continue to have him be this current character, we need some new nuances to be added to this, because now the faction is splitting up. Oleg walked away. Is he done with them? Like, I don't know what's happening anymore. And I never truly figured out why we're here, but okay. It's been all over the place in terms of development.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's friction happening there, so I'm not sure what they're gonna do with them coming out of this, or if the plan is just this is how they're gonna split it up and do some new stuff with them. I think it wouldn't be horrible if they all went and did some new stuff.
Yep, I agree. I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't know. Every time Dango and them do these promos, I'm just like, what the hell's going on? I'm like, what are they doing with these dudes? I mean, so if this is a split up and maybe Oleg's going off on his own, that's great. I just, I just don't know what they're doing with the dude, and I'm like, can we do something? Find something for this guy. He needs to find his niche. I mean, he really does, because right now he's just sort of like flopping like a fish out of water. So, yeah.
Yeah. I like Dango as a wrestler, but the character needs a new direction or some nuance, because I want him to be here because I like him. I'm a big fan of him as a wrestler and from what we got previously from him, but his current iteration isn't doing it for me. So here's hoping that with the split and the fracture kind of happening, that it takes Dango in a new direction. So then we kick it backstage where we see Gia Miller trying to get an interview with AJ Francis and Rich Swann. And as a hip hop fan, I chuckled at the corniness of the nickname that AJ Francis has for Rich Swann, because he stops Gia and says, hey, listen, if you're trying to get an interview with, with Rich Homie Swann over here, I'm like, I listen to hip hop, so I love that part. But, they're not going to answer Gia's questions if they want, like everybody else wants to know why they did it. They're going to find out why next week. And I'm like, darn it. It's like, of course you're gonna drag it out, tease. How dare you? So mad. AJ
Yeah,
Francis annoys me, but like I love that he annoys me.
yeah. There wasn't really much to this promo because there just wasn't much to it. They basically said they weren't going to do an interview, and then that was it. I did chuckle a little bit also at the fact that AJ Francis has all this like style and gear on, and Rich Swan's literally in like plain black jeans and a plain black hoodie or beanie, and then that's it. I was like, there's no flair or anything to it. I mean, I guess AJ let him hold his sunglasses for a little while, but yeah, we'll see what they do next week.
Ditto. I got nothing to say about this promo. It's like it didn't, other than it didn't affect me one way or the other.
All right, fair.
Like, truly, I can't. I mean, in my personal opinion, I don't like AJ Francis, but this promo did nothing for me.
That
I'm gonna
is
be very,
very
cynical
fair.
tonight, so everybody knows. I'm very cynical tonight.
Oh, well, I mean, let's just keep the cynicism going because we go from one weird promo to another one. We go to commercial, then we come back, and all of a sudden, Diener is in the ring, and then he cuts. Okay, like, how did we get here? Because the Diener all of a sudden just starts his promo. He's like, I've made some mistakes. I was just like, sir, are you about to pull a I never had relations with this person type of like energy here? Like, what is happening? Are you about to like admit to like you? I was like, was it you? Did you hit PCO with the car a couple months ago? Like, what happened? Because he's like, I want to apologize. I made a lot of mistakes. I was so hyper focused, like from Violent by Design to the design, that I blamed everybody else for my own things. But really, it was all me. And I'm like, no. And I shouted at my screen, and I kid you not, I'm like, no, duh. Look, I like Diener as an in-ring talent, but by the time we got through this promo before he was interrupted by GYV, I rolled my eyes so hard at this thing. I was like, how did we get here? Oh my gosh, we can't have another face turn all of a sudden. I'm like, bro, didn't you team with AJ Francis not too long ago, and then all of a sudden now you have a change of heart? What the heck, man? I was very confused, but gentlemen, so before we get into GYV's thing, because those boys went in for the jugular with the things they were saying, but we'll talk about that in the second half, but I need someone to help me out, fill in the missing details. Like, how did we get here? Just why with Diener?
I don't know. I mean, we all watched the same promo. I mean, obviously they're making a turn, but I don't know where they're going to go with this. It feels like there has to be more that they're going to show us as things move along. But yeah, it was a choice.
TNA, I love you, but you got to make it make sense. Like, I love you, TNA, but we got to make it make sense.
Yeah, it was.
And it was choices. So, in the words of Tatiana, choices. Then we get the other half of this promo where this also got really weird because GYV comes out. And when I tell you that in lesser words that have been ever spoken, they literally told Diener, hey man, hang it up. You suck. Retire. I was like, well, damn. I was like, all right then. I love when GYV cuts promos though, because they are just so refined British boys, but they will cut you in the jugular with their words alone.
Yeah.
But I was just like, yo, that's kind of vicious. You're telling this man to hang it up and retire. Huh? Like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah. This
Was
this
so
was
far out of
weird.
left field.
It was weird. It was, I mean, and again, and it may just, I don't know if this is them setting up a new rivalry or what this is, but this really came out of like left field on both of their parts. I mean, he's like, and and then they're like, just like, what? I'm like, what is happening right now? Because I'm thinking, honestly and truly, I was like, GYV, why do you even care? That was what I didn't get. It's like, why are you guys all of a sudden like, I don't even know why they even gave a shit. I was like, he obviously, I mean, they're all talking. I mean, they like lashed him. And it's like, if you care that little about him, then why are you making such a big deal about it? That was my whole thing the whole time. I was just like, what? So I was like, well, maybe they're setting up some kind of new rivalry. But I'm like, but even that was like, I don't know what. Yeah, so this really didn't make any sense to me. Like this whole alternate reality we got sucked into. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it felt like they didn't have anywhere else to put this promo, so they put it there, and they needed someone to come in and interrupt Diener, so they just had someone from who's going to be wrestling next come out and do it, because it felt weird to have GYV be the ones to interrupt. And I thought, okay, well, maybe someone's going to come down and help Diener, and that's what this promo was going to lead to, him teaming up with someone new. And then Time Splitters came out to help him, and then Diener just kind of disappeared. So it was just like, yeah,
poof, like magic, he's gone.
Yeah,
he did. He just sort of like rolled and then vanished. I was like,
poof, like a magic trick.
Okay, was this just?
Ta-da! I was like, hear me out though, right? So Diener is looking for a purpose. There's only one man I can think of who can give him purpose right now. Because say his name, and he will appear. I believe in Joe Hendry. Honestly, Diener and Joe Hendry as a weird tag team couple.
I'd be here for it.
And then give me a one-night reunion where it's Diener and the reunited Joya in a 6-man tag. That is all I'm asking for, TNA. By the end of 2024, I want a reunited Joya and Diener having a 6-man tag in some capacity. Yes. Make it happen.
You make the tag team of Joe Hendry and Diener, and they're called Jody.
Yes. And then they enter a feud with Jody Threat to be like, who's the real Jody? Honestly, Jody Threat would probably be down for that. We're just dream booking right now because our dream booking was better than what we got in this promo.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh, can you imagine like Joe Hendry, Diener, and Jody Threat as like a 3? Oh my god! Talk about I think the universe would unravel.
I'm here for chaos energy, which is the perfect way to describe this next match because this match was also a banger. It was a chaotic mess, but it was a banger because these boys just put their foot on the gas pedal and they just went off because, as Andrew, you mentioned after this Diener promo, it literally just rolls right into our tag team match of GYV versus Time Splitters. So I got to bring this up here because we are talking about Time Splitters, and one of those members is Alex Shelley, who is also part of Motor City Machine Guns. According to the reports that I've seen today, there has not been any, anything from the Motor City Machine Gun side of that. Their contracts expire, I want to say, by the end of spring with TNA, and no word has been given if they were going to re-sign with TNA or not. And then it made it weirder when I also read that they have trademarked the Motor City Machine Guns and their acronym for it too. So I'm like, where are we going, boys? What is happening?
I have heard some stuff that there may be a chance that they're going to not sign a permanent contract with TNA, but that they may do like per
part-time. Yeah. Which, honestly, as much as I would hate not to see Motor City Machine Gun on TNA Weekly, I feel that I would also love them to pop up in other places. Actually go to Ring of Honor. Honestly, pop up in Ring of Honor. I would definitely go there. Stay away from AEW because we saw what happened last time y'all were there. still not over it, and I'm still angry. But back to this match.
But this match,
To the match. This match was a banger. It was fantastic. Yo, Kushida, I was like, there we go. This is the Kushida that I saw at Hard to Kill, because I felt like he's been missing a couple of steps the last couple of weeks. I was like, this is the Kushida from New Japan. I was like, you are back, my dude. I loved you. But this match also got brutal too, because GYV started laying down the whoopings on Shelly and Kushida. They're like, nah, we're going to hurt you. I also really like the in-ring psychology and storytelling, because, you know, we had an injured arm, so to speak, and then Kushida kept going after it and eventually got the win for Time Splitters by making him tap going after that injured arm, which this was a fantastic tag team match. I was actually kind of surprised that Time Splitters won this one, given the fact that the story we've been telling over the last couple of weeks is that they're not on the same page and they're kind of like on, you know, the cusp of having an implosion. But hey, they picked up the victory here. And I'm also kind of surprised that GYV lost in this capacity, but it's not the end of the world. But I thought this was a phenomenal tag team match. Boys, what did we think of GYV versus Time Splitters? Or, yeah, Time Splitters.
I mean, I did like how both teams were super brutal with the submissions. Like you said, they picked a target and they went after it, and it just showed, you know, their experience and their skills. It was a really good match, but it's clear that they're still playing towards some of the tension between Shelly and Kushida. In the beginning, there were issues of tagging, and then at the end, Shelly wasn't quite embracing Kushida like he was trying to. But I also was very surprised that GYV lost.
Yeah, me too. That threw me. I was just like, oh, okay. All right. I mean, it was, and especially because at the beginning when they first came in, like when they interrupted the beating of poor Diener, and they were like getting their butts kicked like the minute they came in the ring, and I was thinking, yeah, this is gonna go down exactly like that, and then it didn't, and I was sort of like, it wasn't a bad match, but I didn't understand that. I didn't understand why GYV didn't win this match. I don't know what they're, because I would think that a loss for the Time Splitters would have been like the straw that broke the camel's back type of thing. But this is sort of like, and so I don't know if they're wanting them to. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I have all kinds of theories, but I'm curious. I enjoyed watching the match. I just was like, what? Why? Okay. Again, that was a choice. I don't know where they're going with it. I don't know. Yeah, it was fun to watch Kushida though, and not, basically getting his ass handed to him 24/7. I was just like, look, Kushida can wrestle, guys. He can when you give him a chance.
I'm just happy to see him win because he's been on a losing streak for the last month or two. The last two pay-per-view cycles he's gotten, he's been on the losing end of everything.
And I felt so bad for him. Because I mean, I've seen it, prior to those, I'd seen what he was capable of, and I was like, oh wow, yeah, this guy's gonna be badass. And then it's like they kind of neutered him really. He was kind of just there. He did some cool stuff, and then he was sort of more background than anything else. So this is the first time that I've kind of felt that he has been foreground. And I really liked that. I mean, I liked him in this match way better than Shelly in this match. To me, it felt like Shelly was half-assing it the whole time.
Well, and Shelly felt like he was in there to take the beating. The fact that it was his leg that they focused on, that kind of stuff. So,
yeah.
Yeah, so I thought this was a fun tag team match. I am a little perplexed to see that, be like, oh yeah, the Time Splitters won. I was like, but okay. I mean, I'm not upset about it because it gives Kushida a win after being on the losing streak, but I just need to see where we take the direction of this particular story and where this goes from here. All right, kids, we're moving on strap yourselves in because there's a lot to break down in this interview with not Alex Hammerstone. He just goes by Hammerstone now. I'm like, oh, you're such a Giga Chad. I'm here for it. My first question that I wrote down as soon as this, whole entire thing started, I wrote down, I wonder who's Tanner, him or Bronze Breaker? Because Lord have mercy. I'm like, sir, you are not even a skin. You are no longer within the wheelhouse of regular colors. You have invented your own. And then as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, you can definitely tell you're from Phoenix, Arizona, because I've seen a bunch of people who have that tannin. Sir, you better go get that checked out and make sure you don't have no melanoma, because like, that is a deep tan, and I'm not blaming the cameras on this one. Now that I made that joke out of the way, there's a lot to unpack with this interview segment. First of all, I chuckled when he's like, Tom or Tomas. I was like, Tom. Okay, Thomas. I was like, okay, you're going to be a heel throughout this whole thing. I can't wait. But basically, to kind of summarize what Hammerstone gives us, this interview / promo talks about his history prior to coming to TNA. Then he talks about Hard to Kill. And then he's asked about, what we got at Sacrifice and the trophy that he took with, Josh's headgear. And that he's ready to fight Josh and at any time. Like, he's not going to come look for him. Josh has to come to him. I'm just like, oh, we're setting up this rubber match very beautifully, and I am so excited for this. I'm like, wow, you're such a turd, Hammerstone. Kind of here for it, though. But boys, what did we think of Bronze Breaker's brother giving during the promo?
I thought, Hammerstone did exactly. He's playing the same character he has played for a while. I think it works great for him. Glad to see him here in TNA. Glad we're getting that trilogy match. Obviously, I'm assuming we're going to get it announced for, it's going to be one of our next match announcements that we're going to get. And I thought it was a good way to kind of start introducing people who maybe don't know him outside of TNA to his character and kind of his background. I'll be interested to see what he does between now and finally facing off against Josh Alexander. It'd be kind of fun to have some like throwdowns in the back where they like come across each other and then they have to keep him away from each other and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's fun to see him in there, having seen him before he came into TNA and seeing him here now. And I'm interested to see what they're going to do with him after this feud with Josh Alexander too.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm one of those people. It's so funny. I'm one of those people that hates watching people be mean to other people. Even though I know it's character work, I just sat there and go, I want to punch you in the face for like being so disrespectful to people. It's just like, which I think is great because he's getting the response that I think he wants, and I just love that. And because I can step back and look at the character and go, well, you got the response you were looking for. Because during that whole interview, I was just like, why are you being such a dick? It's like, dude, come on, first of all, calm down, because he was getting all like in that interview, and I was just like, okay, it seems to me like you don't want to answer questions that show you in a negative light, obviously, or anything that you think is going to show you in a negative light. Because he got all like veined up and stuff when they were like asking him questions, and I was just like, okay, so this is a character that I think will be a lot of fun to watch as he kind of interacts with not just Jason Alexander, but like everybody else around him, because I can even see him clashing with like, the system, and things like that, which would be great. I'd love to see him go up against Moose. I think that would be a fantastic match because, they're both huge guys, and I would just love to see. I can't wait to see where he goes from after they get and once we get past the Josh Alexander thing. I'm curious to see where he goes from here because I think it could be his character. Even though I hate the character, I think it'll be a lot of fun. I think it'll be great. I think he's going to be a great catalyst for a lot of good stuff. You know, because you need that character that's constantly rubbing everyone the wrong way, and that and I think he's just a big dude, man. He's such a presence. You know, watching the interview, it was all him, and then you see Tom kind of there out of your periphery. You see, like, oh yeah, there's somebody else in this shot, but yeah, he's just so huge.
He has a presence, both charisma wise and physically. He's a big presence too, and a thought came to my mind because, Will, you mentioned that Hammerstone is a good opportunity to kind of be a catalyst for a lot of things for the future of TNA. And immediately what popped up into my mind, whether or not it's for a championship or not, just because I like watching Big Hoss matches, Jake something versus Hammerstone is a match I want to see so bad now. Like,
wait, who and who?
Jake and Hammerstone.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like, that is a match that I want to see so bad now.
Yeah, that would be pretty brutal.
Yeah, they got some meaty men over there.
I mean, make it happen, TNA. But I actually really enjoyed this interview with Hammerstone. And I agree with both of your points. I think TNA has an awesome opportunity to add something fresh to the men's division that, not to say that things have gotten stale, but this definitely adds a new dynamic to a bunch of the men's talent that we have in here. But I'm super excited. Which then leads us into our TNA Digital Media Championship match, PCO versus Crazy Steve. Okay. So we talked a little bit about this before we started recording. And PCO kind of had Crazy Steve on the ropes, but Khan intervened, which allowed Crazy Steve to retain the title. So the question that Will asked, and we kind of talked about it beforehand, had Khan not intervened, was there a possibility that Crazy Steve would have lost the title to PCO? And you know what? We talked a little bit about it beforehand, but in hindsight, no. I don't think Crazy Steve would have lost. But then again, I'm not 100% sure that he would have kept the belt either, if that makes any sense. Because honestly, it could have gone either way.
You know, I mean, if we look at it outside of the entertainment aspect of what wrestling is, if we were looking at it, this is a real fight. And had Khan not interfered, I think PCO would have won that belt. I mean, we knew he wasn't going to because they don't want Crazy Steve to lose it yet, which I'm in total agreement with. You know, but I think had Khan not interfered, I think it was a very, very good chance that PCO could have walked away with that belt. Because PCO, even though he was taking a beating from Steve too. I mean, it wasn't one-sided. I don't think it was. I thought they were both kind of hammering each other, but right there towards the end, PCO was, I mean, he was nailing that dude, man. I mean, I was like, ooh, I kind of felt bad for Crazy Steve there for a second. And then Khan came in, and then I was like, and which just makes for great television, but it just irritates the crap out of me when, like interference happens, shenanigans happen, it just drives me insane. And because then it's like, well, now we'll never know, it's like, ugh. I loved it. I thought it was great, and it made sense. It makes absolute sense because, Khan and PCO have that thing. But I was very much like, wow, if he had not interfered, it's very possible that we would have had a new digital media champion. And I would have been totally cool with it. I mean, because we were talking about it before. It's like, when Tommy Dreamer had it, it was like a joke title. But I really believe that if PCO had that belt, it would be something to go for. I mean, like truly, because I mean, PCO, man, it's like the undead dude who literally you can drop an atomic bomb on and he just gets up and laughs at you. I mean, good Lord. I would have been like, yeah.
So like what we're saying is that after a nuclear warhead, roaches, Twinkies, and PCO will be the only thing surviving after that.
Yeah. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, I mean, this match had some really good moments, and especially at the end, building to the end. You know, PCO hit that deanimator, which is always super brutal. He obviously was setting up Crazy Steve to hit the PCO assault. So yeah, I mean, it obviously was set up to look like PCO was going for the finish. And it was a good match. It was a really solid match between the two of them, but I feel like it was kind of overshadowed by Khan. Because the action that happened after that, like when Khan hit that drop, that like back body drop on the back of the chairs that PCO would set up, that's brutal every time. And PCO is the one that usually sets it up and is usually the one that takes it. And it looked so brutal. I will have to give a shout out to the kid that you could hear in the audience, like screaming. Like at one point, he was like, PCO, he's getting up. He's getting up. Look behind you. They're both getting up. Like, it was just like cheering him on. Like, and you heard it. I heard him throughout like the whole event.
Yeah.
But he was just like super invested in it, which is awesome. I really still think that the digital media title just needs to be like a hardcore no DQ title, like especially with Crazy Steve holding it. I did want a little more out of this match because I feel like we only got part of the match because it was set up to be a match that got interrupted. So I'm kind of hoping that we're building towards maybe the three of them facing off against each other in, you know, maybe some kind of match where they don't get a lot of sleep and they don't, like, you know...
Andrew is speaking my language, and Andrew already confirmed it for me, so we are going to be getting Khan and PCO again, but this time it's going to be one of my favorite stipulations in TNA in a Monsters Ball match, and so excited. I am grinning from ear to ear. I am Harley Quinn in this situation. Yes, mother, I crave violence.
Me too.
But that also leads to the credence. I was just like, you should transform the Monsters Ball to be like your digital meat. I want them to bring back the .com like street fight, like with Jody Grace and Matt Cardona had that match. It was baller. But
yeah, wasn't it called like .com rules?
They were literally hitting each other with cable wires and computer keyboards, which was fantastic. And I think at one point Jordan Grace choked out Matt Cardona with like the wire of like a mouse for the computer. So much fun. It's so fantastic. But I'm excited for that match. It's going to be fantastic. But Crazy Steve is still our TNA Digital Media Championship, and I'm okay with it. Then things got even more juicier because we had Backstage and we have our girls, Decay. I'm so happy to see them back and talking, you know, Backstage in TNA. They talk about that there are places that the Knockouts women's division won't go, but Decay is here to remind him that, oh no, we went to those places, and so we're coming for those Knockout Tag Team Championships, which then prompts, like a horror movie, you just see Killer Kelly and Masha Slamovich just like peer out of the corner from the top of the stairwell, and I immediately heard like the horror movie is like, eat. I was like, turn around. No, girl, don't go in there. Because then Masha cuts a promo in Russian where I didn't understand her, but I knew what she was saying, surprisingly enough. In which Killer Kelly was nice enough to translate for those of us that don't speak Russian that Decay better watch their back because MK Ultra is coming for those titles too. And boys, I said this last week, and I think I would love to be correct on this, but I smell a triple threat at Rebellion, and I am not upset about it.
Yeah, they kind of hinted at the two teams facing each other for a #1 contender spot. I think at this point, it doesn't feel like either of those two teams is the team to go against it or go against our champions. It makes more sense at where we're at right now with it being a triple threat and maybe some stuff happens. I mean, hell, with MK Ultra and Decay, just have them in a normal tag team match for the number one contender spot, and then just have them continue to beat the crap out of each other where the ref's got to throw it, or it's a double count out, or double disqualification or something where it's just too much violence. And so they're like, all right, fine, everyone gets a title shot, and have all 6 of those ladies square off for that title, because that'd be crazy.
Make it super violent. Just kidding. You kind of have to do something special with these 3 particular tag teams, especially when you look at all 6 of the women that are involved in our Knockouts tag team division. I was like, look, give me a street fight. Give me weirdly enough, give me in Knockouts triple threat, Ultimate X kind of match for the title thing. I just want to see these women throw each other and hurt each other. It'd be fantastic.
It's gonna be dark, dangerous, and brutal.
Yes, I want it all. Give it to me. Fantastic. So we go from this to an in-ring promo from Eric Young. I liked it because it was short, it was sweet, it was simple. It didn't drag out for too long. Did the contents of the promo get me? Not really. The important thing, though, is he calls out Frankie Kazarian, and he challenges him, and we get confirmation on the internet later. We have our 4th match set for Rebellion. We are getting a full metal Mayhem match between Eric Young and Frankie Kazarian set for Rebellion. I am so ready for this. I love the Full Metal Mayhem matches in TNA. It's going to be fantastic. For those of you who are unaware, a Full Metal Mayhem match is TNA's version of pretty much a street fight and a TLC match, but we can't call it a TLC match because another company owns the naming rights to those things. But Full Metal Mayhem is fantastic because chairs, tables, ladders, and pretty much anything else. We've also seen thumbtacks make an appearance. And glass is... It's going to get violent. I'm super excited. Boys, Full Metal Mayhem. Obviously, the promo wasn't anything, but how do we feel that we have our 4th match set for Rebellion now? Frankie versus Eric Young. Tell me why this is 1,000 times better than Frankie versus Eddie, the feud that we got.
I mean, first of all, just putting Eric Young in a Full Metal Mayhem match is just going to be crazy to begin with. And I think it makes sense. You have to take that next step up from this feud and have them do something bigger. When this was first getting called out, and when I actually saw this announced, the graphic before I actually saw the show, so I knew it was coming, and I didn't see the Full Metal Mayhem stipulation on there, and I was like, really? We're getting this again? And then I saw it, I was like, okay, that's how you up the ante if you're gonna have a rematch. So I'm excited for it because these two are gonna go hard at each other, and it'll be crazy. I'm interested to see who's gonna come out on top, because we know Eric Young is willing to just do whatever. But a win for Frankie could really elevate him to being that heel that they're trying to get him to be. But a win for Eric could also push him. I know he just came off of a title shot, so it'll be interesting to see where they go with that. But all in all, I'm looking forward to this match.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it's, you talk about the Eddie and Frankie rivalry, and the thing about the Eddie and Frankie rivalry is that it's overstayed its welcome. I think with this, and now with Kazarian, it's like full heel mode. I think that this rivalry will be a one and done. So I think whatever happens after this next match, I think is the end of the rivalry, so to speak. or at least this directness of it. I think they'll still be, well, obviously still have hard feelings, but I think this one has been very cut and dry. Like they've really kind of set it up very quickly and very well, I think, for the most part. But they try to create a whole story with Eddie and Frankie and that rivalry. And here they're not trying to do that. Here it's literally like, I don't like you, you don't like me, let's fight it out in the ring. This is why I don't like you. It's like, well, you don't even know me. Well, then bring it on. And then it's just boom, 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 boom. So I think that's the big difference here, is that they try to get all sappy with that Eddie and Frankie. And it was just, at first it was like, oh man. And then it was like, okay, is it, oh, here we go again. Oh, do I have time to go to the bathroom while they're doing this? I mean, it's like, okay, but here I don't feel like that at all. It's like, oh, okay, it's going to be boom, 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 done. It's like, here, we're going to finally, you're going to get the solution at the end of the third match. And which I think is great, because now that because I think that's because, Frankie's in full heel mode. So he's very much like, I want to get this done, get you out of my hair. I don't want to deal with you anymore because you're this, that, and the other, or whatever. And so he doesn't have any skin in the game, so to speak. So he's just like, bring it on, dude. It's like, so yeah, I'm excited for this match too. I'm excited to see if they're going to give Young like a boost. Because Frankie's there. He's established. He's not going anywhere. But I think with Young coming in, I think he's got to establish himself. And I don't think he's done that yet. And I think maybe this is the way. Maybe it happens here. I don't know. But because even if Kazarian loses, his status isn't going anywhere. That's the thing. It's like, win or lose, he's there. But with Young, I think Young has to win this next match.
No, I agree with you, Will. I feel that this is Eric Young's game to lose, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, coming off of a loss against Moose, even though Frankie was responsible for it, I think Eric needs to win this one. But we'll have to wait until Rebellion to see how that turns out. But gentlemen, I need you to clear the runway because she is here. Ash by Elegance has her third match, and it was a star-studded performance. I don't care what no one says. I love this gimmick for Ash by Elegance. It's so corny, so cheesy. I love it. But Ash by Elegance is in her third match, and she takes on Shalisa Sparks. This was a fun match as well. It was pretty much kind of a squash match with a little bit of offense from Shalisa, which was nice to see. But ultimately, Ash by Elegance wins. And then she goes for the jugular because then she attacks Shalisa and like almost hits her like with a chair. A chair gets involved. So I was like, oh, she's going in for the kill. And then whose music hits to come for the save for Shalisa? But Zaya Brookside. And what I found interesting is that as Ash was getting ready to jump off the top turnbuckle, Zaya stands in front and says, "This is not you. I know who you are." And I was like, oh, that's right. I forgot. These two actually know each other outside of the wrestling ring too. But Ash backs off a little bit, but she stares at Zaya. It's just like, I will get you. It gave me the vibes. So it was just like, I will get you, my pretty, and your little dog too vibes, which I'm here for. I'm excited for a couple of reasons, but the most prominent one is that now we have established Ash's first real feud with the Knockouts division, and we get to have Zaya kind of properly start her own feud now that we're done with her and Tasha Steelz for this current chapter. Boys, what did we think of Ash's match and the subsequent start to the feud between her and Zaya?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. This match was basically a squash match. I do like that we're getting to see a little bit of more action in each of her matches. I do also like that, like you said, that we're setting up Ash and Zaya to actually have a feud, which I think is great for both of them. It gives Ash her first feud with someone that's recognizable in there every week and actually a threat to her. And Zaya also gets a big focus because I feel like Ash is going to be the clear victor coming out of this feud, because I feel like that's what they're setting up, is for her to eventually go for that title. But I think it will be good for Zaya to make this run against Ash. I have to give credit to Ash that rarefied air, which is basically a swanton. I didn't think she was gonna. I thought that Sparks was like gonna get up or something because she was so far out, and she got some good distance on that splash. She got some good distance on that rarefied air, and I think it was the best looking that move has looked since she's done it in TNA. Yeah, I mean, I think this was good. I think this set it up exactly right, and I think it is about time to have her move on to something else. One thing that I did notice, and it kind of bugged me, is I hate watching this, especially as someone who works with performance stuff, and especially who's worked on the performance side, worked with performers, and also worked in costuming. Is Ash was struggling a lot with her top. Like, every time she did a move, she kept having to readjust, and I was like, get her some new gear. I'm not a huge fan of her gear because it's a little just sparklier version of what a lot of other women performers are wearing. I'd like to see her with something a little more unique. But especially when it's something like that, because that just takes away so much from what they're doing. It makes the performer have to worry about something other than the performance itself. But that's just a nitpicky thing for myself. But yeah, I'm excited to see a match between Ash and Zaya. I think it's going to be great. And I think Ash is going to mess with Zaya by like kind of postponing this a little bit to get it to a big event, but do it in such a way that it's just going to mess with Zaya's brain.
I'm here for mind games when it comes to Ash.
Yeah, I agree. It was a good match. I thought I agree with you. I think it was sort of a match, and I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see this sort of, dare I say, rivalry, but this sort of whatever this is they're creating. I'm curious to see where it goes after this match. I'm really, really excited. I've been very excited since Ash got here. It's like since Ash came on the scene, it was like, okay, because at first I was kind of like, what are they doing with her? I mean, it's like, we're just cutting some cool, fun commercials, and it almost felt like she was just going to be like a fluff piece. Like, oh, look, we've got a fluffy, fun thing to kind of throw out there every once in a while. And I was kind of like, are they going to actually let her wrestle? And then finally they did, and I was like, oh, yay. And I think that I can't wait to see where this goes, because now that she's truly fully into it now we've got her like in matches and actually fighting some good folks. I'm curious to see where they take her to. Like, where are they going with her? I'm curious to see where that goes. But I'm very excited for this. Very excited.
I am too. I'm just happy to see Ash get a feud, but I'm also happy to see that we're going to see more of Zaya too, because I think she's phenomenal, and they're going to continue to use her, which I really, really love. So then we get into this promo from Nick Nemeth. Did anyone else feel that they were rushed for time because of how quickly this thing just abruptly ended? So let's start with Nick Nemeth's portion. So Nick Nemeth comes into the ring, and he talks about, since he decided to come to TNA, he wants one thing, and he wants a championship, but he's not expecting to get it handed to him, and he's willing to put in the work for it. And in fact, he proved it to Steve Macklin that he does belong in TNA, which I'm here for, because the other company didn't utilize him properly. It's not like I'm bitter or anything. I'm just kidding. I am still bitter. I hate you. Anyways, so Nick Nemeth is, not expecting to get handed a title shot, but due to circumstances beyond his control, that's exactly what he's getting, because he's getting a title shot against Moose at Rebellion for the title. But I'm like, the system did kind of put hands on Nick and Speedball Mountain, so there's got to be consequences. So good job, Santino, for having consequences in wrestling. Who knew? And then the system's music hits. Moose comes out. He's surrounded by his squad. Literally, and I kid you not, this is not a summary. This is verbatim what Moose said. He says that he's well aware of Nick Nemeth, and if anyone knows about Nick and his career, just like in the previous promotion, he can't beat the system. And then that's how we ended. I was like, what? I'm like, huh? I was like, what just happened? Yeah, I was like, man, what a buzzkill.
What Moose said was wrong, or wasn't wrong. It definitely played into the reality of the struggles that Nick Nemeth faced, dealing with a system in another promotion. I feel like part of the issue was they shouldn't have come down to the ring, because them coming down to the ring and then leaving took longer than their promo did. Yeah. They should have come out to the stage, said that from the stage to him in the ring, and then we just cut away from that. But yeah, it felt like something was missing, or like they had, like you said, they had to cut something out. I did like Nemeth's little joke in the beginning. He said, "I stood out here when I first came to TNA. I stood in this ring and I stood face to face. Well, face to chest, because he's got a little height on me when talking about standing in the ring with Moose." Yeah. But yeah, it was super weird. It felt like we got like a half or a third of what the promo was originally supposed to be, and they're like, "Oh hey, we're running out of time. Let's wrap it up."
Yeah, this is gonna because it should have had some pizzazz to it. The whole thing when they're like, when they say when Moose said the last thing about the system, I was expecting like the lights to go out or something. And like the Matrix thing come onto the screens or some crap like that. And I was like, but it didn't happen. And I was like, I felt like I was robbed of something. I was like, wait. Did I watch a cut version of it? Because surely there's more to that. And it's like, nope, that's all there was, folks. But yeah, it's exactly what it felt like. It felt like, oh crap. Run behind schedule. Moose,
I felt like I was watching a bit from Looney Tunes, because by the time Moose finished that and the music hit and we ended, I heard Porky Pig in my head. That's all, folks. I was like, what?
Yeah, it was so weird. Yeah.
I'm excited still for Nick versus Moose at Rebellion, but dang, I was like, you teased me, you lied, how dare you? So after this, we get the bumpers for next week, which I'm super excited for. But then they just, out of the blue, they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna have an 8-4-1 match. I'm like, excuse me? I was like, we were going to have a Knockouts Division 8-4-1 match to determine Jordan Grace's opponent for Rebellion. I'm like, how do you casually just drop that match out of nowhere? Like, so for those of you who don't know, the 8-4-1 match essentially is what it sounds like. You start with 8 participants, you narrowed it down to 4, and it becomes a fatal 4-way, and the winner of that match will end up being the number 1 contender for Jordan's knockout title. Honestly, I can make a case for any woman in that knockouts division to go up against Jordan. Unless there is a surprise that we do not know about, I cannot actually tell you who's going to win that match. I really can't. Because now, obviously, I can eliminate our knockout tag girls, because I still think we're getting a triple threat with those 6. But then with whoever remains, I legit have no idea who is going to be facing Jordan at Rebellion for this title.
I'm hoping that we're getting, even if there's surprise entrants to fill it out, I hope we're getting some surprise people that are like, either we're getting someone that's going to come in and just be like, okay, they're just here for this match just to be, a fun addition to it. Or we're getting some people that they're like, hey, we got some new signees. Here's our introduction to them. I wouldn't mind seeing some repackaging of people because, like, Savannah Evans, we haven't seen in a while.
Yeah.
Giselle Shaw, I know she just had a chance, but I mean, she's one of the main names there in TNA
Jordan
too.
and her would make magic at Rebellion.
Oh yeah.
I know it's a
So-
long shot. It's not happening. It's like surprise entrance number 8, Kylan King. I'm like, obviously that's not going to happen
Way too
because
soon. Way too soon.
way too soon. But a man can dream. Now coming to entrant number 8, Sunny Kiss. Yo, if
Yeah.
they have Sunny
Bring
on a
Sunny
temporary
Kiss back.
contract, I would lose my gourd. Or we'll see what happens. But
Yeah.
I'm excited for this 8-4-1 match, and I was like, okay, we'll see what. I think what's gonna happen is we'll probably get one or both of Decay and MK Ultra in here, and then they forget that they're competing for the number 1 contendership and just beat each other up, which I would be okay for. But yeah, I have no clue who's gonna be in that match and who's gonna win, but we'll have to see next week, so we don't have to wait for too long. But speaking of Jordynne Grace, we enter our main event for this week's episode. For the TNA Knockouts World Championship, Tasha Steelz, the Boricua badass herself, taking on Jordynne Grace, the Juggernaut. I want to preface by saying this before my co-host wring my neck when I'm about to say something very blasphemous here. I enjoyed this match. I thought it was phenomenal. However, my biggest critique in this match, and this is just me personally, I felt there was no real danger to Jordynne losing her title. And I know that's a minor nitpick for me because, I love Tasha and I love Jordynne. But for me, there was no danger that Jordynne was going to lose. So just a slight bit took me a little bit out of this match because I feel that when championships are on the line, even if it's on regular television, I feel there has to be a sense of urgency and a sense of danger. Be like, oh snap, there might be a possibility that the champion could lose their title. I still enjoyed the match, and Jordynne and Tasha put on a phenomenal match, in-ring work. But the fact that there was no danger of Jordynne losing her title kind of took me out of it a tiny bit, but I still thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Like, we knew they weren't going to take the title off of Jordynne on this episode. It's going to be Jordynne going in to wrestle. And there wasn't ever a moment when I felt like Tasha was like, oh my gosh, she might win this. I've had that feeling even in other matches when we're like, I know this person's going to win. And then there's those moments like, are they going to get us? Are they going to actually go against what we expect is going to happen? I never felt that. But that being said, I did think this was a really good match. Tasha was just like, she was just going off. She was putting all like 100 pounds of herself, if that much, into Jordynne, she just looked like a mad woman out there, just like going off on Jordynne Grace. I love the counter wrestling that both of them had, especially Tasha, because she used a lot of the counters to kind of use her speed and agility to deal with Jordynne. This was a really good, fun match, but I feel like this would have been a more enticing match if this was like not for the title. If it was like, oh, Tasha wins, she gets a shot at the championship, like, so okay, maybe there is a chance she's gonna win. Or if this was just some other random, like, these two knockouts of wrestling, Tasha and Jordynne, and neither of them are the champion, this would have been a great match. But yeah, the fact that the outcome felt inevitable, it never had me really like super excited. And then the finish was kind of surprising to me too, because it was kind of like we got excitement, and then it got to a point where they were like, all right, let's just finish this. So she just like hit her with a back fist clothesline and then the Juggernaut driver, and then that was it. But it didn't feel like there was like she caught her and then hit her with it. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they do going from that. And I'm excited to see who Jordan's going to face coming out of this 8-4-1 match. So we'll see, because I feel like someone like Ash is probably going to be in there, and some other people that we've been seeing coming up too. So we'll see if anyone can stop the Juggernaut. Can't stop me. I'm the Juggernaut.
Andrew, this is why we vibe. We're all nerds here, and I love you for it. Alrighty. Will, as our very proponent for women's wrestling, as we have slowly gotten you involved in more women's wrestling stuff, this was a championship match for the Knockouts title. How did we feel that Jordan and Tasha did in delivering us the match that we got?
I mean, I think they did great individually. I mean, going into this, I was like, there was no way. I was like, there's no way Jordan's losing this. I mean, but I have to agree with the fact that it felt like there was no challenge, really. Like, I mean, Tasha was doing her thing, but I didn't feel like, I wasn't even afraid that it was possible that Jordan could lose, you know, and that's an issue I have with women's wrestling programming, is that if it's a title match, it needs to feel dangerous, you know, it needs to feel like Jordan could lose her title here, and I didn't feel that. I mean, because especially at the beginning, you know, Tasha was hitting her, and she just stood there looking at her like, what are you doing? And so it didn't feel like, I mean, from that moment, I was like, Tasha, you got no chance, girl. And I don't want that. I mean, you know, because it's like, and I'm going to go into comic books. That's why I don't like Superman. You know, I didn't like, you know, because the thing about Superman is that they had to create something so he had a weakness, you know, because originally he didn't. So Kryptonite's not original, everybody, just so everybody knows that. But same thing with Jordan. She was there and Tasha was wailing on her and she just stood there like, are you going to start hitting me anytime soon? And I'm thinking, well, okay. Because now I'm like, I love Jordan Grace, don't get me wrong. But now I'm like, are you Superman right now? Because I'm starting to not like that. You know, it's like, I don't feel like right now, I feel like she has no true opponents. Like, and we know better than that, because we know a lot of these women are like top-notch wrestlers and powerhouses within themselves. And so this has always been my biggest issue. It's like, we don't want our champion to look weak. I don't think that makes her look weak. I think it makes her look stronger, because you have your champion fighting her challengers, and they almost beat her, but they don't. That does not show that Jordan Grace is weak. It shows that she has the ability and the power to win the match. So I hate when they do that, because it's a disservice to both of the wrestlers. At least that's how I see it. And this is just my opinion, but I just, you know, honestly, because then we go, oh, Tasha, we know you're better than that. You know, and then it's like, all right, Jordan's going to win again, you know, because there's no challenge. And I don't think that's a disservice to Jordan Grace, because she is a great wrestler and she's a powerhouse. And, you know, and it's like, it's like, we can look at Moose, for instance. You know, he's this huge monster of a dude. People are like half his size, you know, but in that, we see these opponents going up against Moose, and they take him for a run for his money. And I think that needs to happen in the women's as well, with the champions. Because, like I said, again, I love me some Jordan Grace, and I want her to hang on to that title as long as possible. But you got to like start letting her opponents be her opponents, and not just, you know, show ponies. So that's my thing. I didn't dislike this match, don't get me wrong. But it's just like, I know Tasha Steelz, she's capable of so much more, and I felt like this was okay, Tasha, when you go in the ring, I need you to dial it back like 75%. It's like, and so yeah, so that was it. That sort of sticks to me sometimes, and then you have those matches where both women are like savage. And it's like, see, and those are the matches that get you going. Those are the adrenaline working ones. That's the one where you're like, oh my God, these two women are going to destroy each other. Here, I did not feel that Jordan was in danger at all. And I want the champions to feel like they're in danger. So that's my thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Will, if it's not said enough, I appreciate your insight because it's fantastic. And that is why I love this team of TNA boys because, yeah. No, I'm going to kind of put Andrew on blast in our little private chat. Yes, Will, you should. You know what? This is what I'm doing this weekend. Andrew, me and you separately will come up with like 3 matches and we'll compile like a Google Doc list with the links for Will to watch some amazing women's wrestling from Ring of Honor because it is fantastic.
Do it. I'll watch it. Do it. I
if you like it, we may or may.
Oh,
the women's division in ROH is so fantastic. I am showing Will Athena versus Willow at Death Before Dishonor. That is immediately on my list.
Yeah, see,
2 of the matches that we just had this week.
Yeah, each of you pick your favorite one, and I'll watch them.
See, the problem is we can't do that because we would just send you all of the women's matches in Ring of Honor, for being honest.
That's fair.
I mean, it would definitely be Athena, Billy, Nyla, and Athena.
Athena and Willow.
The 2 qualifiers that we just had yesterday.
Layla versus Rachel, I actually would give him for that one, too. Introduced into Team Juicy Queen Aminata. Like, that'd be so good. But anyway, so good.
So good.
But we'll talk afterwards. So really quickly, before we give our final rating, let's quickly go through Explosion for this week.
Woo!
So really quickly, this week's Explosion had 1 match, but then a lot of other stuff. So Explosion this week opened up from the Vault section that had Tasha Steelz versus Mickie James from TNA Sacrifice 2022. That was a phenomenal match. I really enjoyed that one. And this was way before that we decided to review wrestling on the YouTube channel because this was a fantastic match. And I feel like it was during this time that Mickie James finally got the recognition that she deserves because I feel like not a lot of people bring her up in conversation when we talk about like amazing women's wrestlers that are like the trailblazers. Obviously, you get the Chynas and the Trish Stratuses. But I feel that during this era in TNA, Mickie James reminded folks of like, oh yeah, she's good. And this was also around the same time that, WWE made the big boo-boo of letting a bunch of their women talent go. And they're like, oh crap, we don't have enough women for a Royal Rumble. Scott D'Amore, will you let Mickie James come in? Yes, but under one condition. You announce her as the TNA Knockouts champion. And boy howdy, they sure did. Which became a running trend because this past Royal Rumble, me and Andrew screamed like girls when Jordan Grace's music hit at the Rumble. I was not expecting that. I don't care what nobody says. That was fantastic. It was a forbidden door. And hopefully, I don't think it'll lead anywhere, but it's fantastic. So then this leads into Tasha Steelz speaking to Julia Miller about this week's Around the Ring and all the stuff, which is very funny because this was taped prior to what we saw on this. It's so weird watching like Explosion because it's literally like a week behind everything else. But I love the Around the Ring section. This week was Tasha Steelz. It was great. We get another from the Vault. We get another from the Vault match. This time it was from 2020 episode of Impact Wrestling. Taya Valkyrie versus a more babyface Jordan Grace. Oh, I was like, look at her. She's so cute. And this is where she won her first Knockouts championship by beating Taya. So I was like, oh my gosh, Jordan Grace, such a baby. Ah! She was not the juggernaut. And I was like, this was like when Jordan was first in Impact. It's crazy that was only like 4 years ago.
Yeah, it's crazy to see how much has happened in that short of time.
Honestly. And it was such an emotional night because this was Jordan's first Knockouts champion win. She would go on to win that thing 2 more times after that? Yeah, so 2 more times within the span of 4 years. So now we get into the actual match portion. Aiden Prince versus Sheldon Jean. Aiden Prince pinned Sheldon Jean after a flying splash. I actually thought this was a fun match.
Yeah, I mean, it was decent. It was a match. I was very surprised that Aiden Prince pinned Sheldon Jean. I thought maybe they were having this match because Sheldon Jean was going to get something after Kenny King left. Other than that, I mean, it was a solid match.
That has been TNA Explosion for this week. Ba-da-ba. Honestly, it's like a digestible 30-40 minutes of extra TNA content, if you will. Moving forward, starting next week, I'm going to write a big old sticky note, stick it on my forehead, stick it on my notepad, stick it on my laptop to do Explosion before we get into the TNA episode.
Yeah.
Because I am such a person with bad memory, because I said we were going to do it beforehand, and what did I do? I got into host mode and completely forgot.
Yeah, I try to watch it sometime before we get to the show, so then that way it happens in the order that it happens too.
It's tough being El Jefe around these parts. All right, boys, we reached the end. I did the housekeeping in the beginning so we can get up on out of here. But last thing we got to do, we got to rate this week's TNA episode. So, Thursday, March 21st for This Week in TNA, what do we give the final rating of this show? I'll go first. I'm going to give this like a solid 7.5 out of 10. I think I had a lot of fun with this episode, and we did get 2 more matches for Rebellion, which makes me super excited. However, there was a lot of promo segments, both backstage and in the ring, that came out of left field and kind of took me out a little bit. Between Dirty Dango and the potential breakup of his faction, to Diener's weird promo and GYV being the ones to interrupt, to the very, we know this is cut for time because Nick Nemeth Moose thing. A lot of the promo work was very weird, or it was so bad of how badly it was cut for time. I was like, I don't know what's happening anymore. So I get this a solid 7.5. I think the wrestling was phenomenal, but the promo stuff really kind of knocked a couple points off for me. But it was still definitely better than NXT.
Yeah. I mean, that's not setting the bar super high this week, but I give it an 8. We got some really good matches in here. The fact that we got a number 1 contender match and 2 title matches is pretty crazy for a weekly show. But yeah, it did feel like something was missing. It was an overall good night of wrestling, but there were a couple spots where I was like, I feel like something got left off, or put on the cutting room floor or something. But overall, I thought it was a really solid night. We had some really good stuff and some good stuff built into the next pay-per-view. So
I gave it like a 7.75936. 1, 2.
Sir, that is a weird math answer. Can you explain to us how...
You're the math man. You explain it.
I know. That is why I'm asking you, sir. I need you to explain your work. How did we get this answer? So...
No. See, here's the thing. I got the answer, and that's all that matters. Doesn't matter how I got it. I got the answer. You. It's like, all you math people are like the same.
No work, no credit.
Is it the right answer? Yes. Well, then there you go. Who cares of how I got there? No, but my 7.75 because ditto. I mean, I'm not gonna say the same things over and over and over again. It's literally, you guys have said everything. So, yeah, 7.75. and some
Nice.
change.
Some change. I like that. Alrighty, boys. We made it to the end of another TNA episode and explosion for this week. Alrighty. We're going to get up on out of here because El Jefe has to edit these things tonight, so he wants to do it in a timely manner. Fantastic. Great. But yeah, so next week, I'm looking forward to this 8-4-1 match to see what kind of surprise returns we get, which I'm super excited about. And yeah, so thank you so much for tuning into this week's Takedown Troop. We'll be back next week reviewing the 8-4-1 match for Jordan Grace's #1 contendership for her title match at Rebellion, as well as talking about some other stuff that went down on TNA next week. But from myself, Andrew, Will, and the rest of the BC WrestlePod boys, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay Bi-Conic, but more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. We'll see you for the next review. But until then, take care of yourself.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another Vibe Tribe production. What's gonna happen next time? Well, you're gonna have to tune in to find out. But until then, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and as always, make sure that you keep the good times rolling. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.